Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Running Wild Press Storytellers Happy Hour. And this time we are live. So normally we record it and then we post it. But for realsies, you are watching us 100% live, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. So welcome. So if you've never experienced the Storytellers Happy Hour, then this is going to be a real treat for you. So once a month, Tihi and myself will co-host a happy hour where we invite a storyteller. And this time, our storyteller by invitation is Benjamin B. White. And Ben is one of our most amazing editors at Running Wild Press. He has edited some of the most fantastic anthologies that we have published to date and several of our books. He also has this phenomenal anthology that comes out November 11th, the Recon Trilogy Plus One. And I got to tell you, it's already come out to some amazing reviews, as it should. These are truly fantastic novellas. Well, they're narrative poems. I call them novellas just because of the length. But these are, again, amazing stories. And we released it November 11th because it's in honor of Veterans Day. So I heavily encourage you to pick this up. You will adore it. And honestly, Ben didn't submit this to us. In reality, what happened was he had submitted a story called The Cuban a while ago. It was in one of our first anthologies, and I loved it so much. I just kept asking him to send us more and more narrative poems. And then at one point, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We should really publish this as a collection. And he generously agreed. So this is the result of that conversation. So with that, what goes down is we, A, drink, and B, my cohort in crime, Tihi, will explain what we did to take us to the point of us about to tell you a whole lot of BS.
Yes. So the rules of the Storytelling Happy Hour is that we had months ago created about 30 to 35 random prompts about storytelling. And I have them in this bag here. They used to be in a glass bowl, but thanks. They now live in a bag. We never recycle them. So once they're gone, once they've been told, they're gone until we're done with this. That's how we're done with season one. And so we polled before we broadcasted for each one of us, all three of us. We have our own prompt. We've had about a few minutes, about 3 to 5 minutes to figure out what kind of story we're going to tell based on the prompt. And when we're ready to go, I will show everybody the prompts as we introduce people. But I think I'm going to pass it back to Lisa so you can introduce all of us so we all know who each other are.
Okay,
right?
Cool. Yep. Okay, so I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild Press. And I introduced Ben. And Tihi actually is one of our fantastic authors. And we're also old friends. Tihi and I went to grad school together. So Tihi's collection, Dark Corners, was named Best of 2019 by Kirkus. So we're all pretty good at storytelling. And as you can only imagine, if you haven't already experienced yourself, booze somehow makes storytelling that much more interesting, even if it's just in our own heads. So really fast, Alicia just said, hey, everybody, can't wait. So Alicia, you were a topic of conversation when we were prepping, just so you know. So Ben had edited Alicia's upcoming story or memoir.
Actually. Book, novel. Yeah, memoir.
Yeah. And Alicia is going to join me tomorrow during our Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. And we've both got some pretty interesting questions for each other. So I really encourage you to tune in. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tihi, and so he can get this party started.
Yes, we're going to get it started. Our first storyteller is Ben White. And the prompt that Ben received is fucking up on live TV, which I'm so excited.
So So there I was. This is a New York story that starts in New Orleans. Because why shouldn't it? And in New Orleans, I was stationed in the United States Coast Guard for 6 years in New Orleans, and in those 6 years we had hurricanes and rainstorms and just good old southern rainstorms. Anyway, so I became quite accustomed to the culture of living under the threat of a hurricane all the time. And so when I transferred from New Orleans, when I found out what it means to miss New Orleans, I ended up on Long Island, New York, Long Island. And
Long Island, yeah.
And I was the executive officer of the Coast Guard unit there. And as such, some of my duty was talking to the press. And the press, there was at the time a hurricane coming up the coast. And of course, New York is not as accustomed to having hurricanes come in like we were in New Orleans. And just sit by your window and watch it go by, watch it rain, watch the wind blow. But this was pre-Katrina. But anyway, the storm was coming up the coast, and they were trying to get everybody on Long Island ready and prepared for this great big event. It was coming. It was going to be terrible. The storm surge was coming. The wind was coming. The rain was coming. Everything was going to pour in. It could happen at once. Floods, winds, roofs gone. Everything you could stereotype with a hurricane, it was coming up the coast. And so they called the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard's got to have something that they can tell us. So they called the Coast Guard, and there I was, straight out of New Orleans, thinking I'm just going to drive home and wait for it to hit. I don't know what to tell. But they called me out. They said, we'll come up to the station, to Coast Guard Group Mauritius there. We'll come out, and we want to record you live. We want to interview you live. And I was okay. I've got a public affairs officer experience. I've been trained by the Coast Guard. Coast Guard's got me ready for this. So sure, come on out. We'll be glad to talk to you. And the interview was basically, what can we expect? What should we expect? I said, well, you need to take it seriously. It's a storm coming up the coast, and they do pack some damage. You need to make sure you're prepared for the electricity going off or the floods that may be if you're close to the coast, because there is a real danger of that surf coming up, the high winds, the high waters, the high tides, the rain you're not used to, all of those. And this is where the New Orleans comes in. All of those things, the water, the wind, and the storms, form a ya-ya sisterhood that you do not want to know the secrets of.
Nice.
The reporter said, we got it. And of course, this was going out, and I didn't see it until it had been recorded. I got home and they recorded and showing it again on the news. But I saw that and said, I did pretty good. That's a great description of a storm coming up the coast.
Yeah.
And why not? That's exactly what it is. It's descriptive. Even the New Yorkers will get it. They know it's a famous book. They understand it's a storm. And so I was pretty proud of myself until I went into work, and the commander, my boss, kind of looked at me and said, that was one of the most unprofessional things I know. So ultimately, knowing who I am, him telling me that validated the fact that I knew it was a good thing to say.
I'm like, me, a gay man, knew exactly what you were talking about.
That is awesome.
A ya-ya sisterhood, fucking hurricane. I'm like, I know exactly.
Now, was there a repercussion? Like, did you get in trouble beyond just the comment, or no?
No, just his. He let me know what his opinion was. I can't remember ever doing another interview,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there was never another storm coming up anyway. So it was late in my career, so it was okay.
I
I was yeah.
I'm gonna use
So
that just so you
he let me
I'm
know that
yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't as professional as it might have been. But to when I'll finish off the story with a little sub story behind it. Um, in after Katrina hit New Orleans, it must be Coast Guard culture or something, but the Coast Guard responded.
Mhm.
That's what the Coast Guard does. It just responds, and you need us. We're there. And after Katrina and the post Katrina hearings, there was an admiral from the Coast Guard in Congress who they asked him. We had all these problems getting resources into New Orleans. How did the Coast Guard get there so quick and respond so well? And the admiral, in just typical Coast Guard culture way, he said, "Because we don't need no stinking badges." and, uh, and so it was. Well, I didn't feel nearly as bad as my yaya sister after I heard the admiral tell Congress, "We don't need no stinking badges."
Yeah.
Not True Beverly Hills from the fucking Coast Guard.
That's the 2-for-1. That's a 2-for-1 story.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Both of them,
I was
some of
never
my
in any
favorite
danger of making
movies.
that.
Uh-huh.
Ben,
Oh,
say
wait.
that
What's
one
up
more
on
time.
Tihi?
Yeah, say that again, Ben.
You froze up on me. I didn't hear you.
Oh,
Oh, I was
I said like
never in any danger of making admiral.
no, no.
Um,
I was saying two of my favorite movies happen to be in your story. You worked in two of my favorite movies.
all right.
Yeah, Sisterhood and Treasure Sierra Madre.
And like True Beverly Hills, we don't need no sneaking badges with
Yeah.
like Shelley Long and like the
All
housekeeper from
right.
Will and Grace, like all these other people. Oh shit. Sorry, I have to say this. Okay. So I work in politics. I work with a bunch of like, activist folks, but as a millennial, True Beverly Hills, starring Shelley Long, is one of my favorite movies. So I'm a gay man, obviously. And there's a character of all of these Beverly Hills girls who want to be a part of a Girl Scout troop. So they're all rich or famous or whatever. And there's an Asian one who is the daughter of a dictator, and it's heavily implied that it's the dictator of the Philippines. And the Filipino child actress who was in that movie that I grew up my whole life with, I met her at a training other activists, and she was one of the activists
Oh,
that I was
wow.
helping train. And she carries the sunglasses that was like the very well known thing about her character. She has the sunglasses all 30 years later or 20 years later or whatever.
Wow.
She like put them on. She the lines for the movie, and I died. And like no one else died. I like flipped out. I like took a picture. I had to text my mom. I had to text everyone in the world. I was like, I met someone from Troop Beverly Hills. It was it was the most.
Oh
It
my
was
God, I love that so much. That's so awesome.
yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. My life got better. I was like, I actually know someone from Troop Beverly Hills, and she's a badass fighting on behalf of like domestic workers and like people at the lowest rungs of the economy. And I'm like, yes, yes,
That was awesome.
yeah. All right. So to segue, we're gonna move to Lisa's story. I have Lisa's prompt.
The beach.
The beach.
Okay, so I grew up in New Jersey, and somehow I was especially up until I was about 17, I was always the nerd of my friends. So it was always like me and, most of my friends were like model gorgeous or the most popular girls in school. And I was the nerd that you'd find like walking around like this with books, covering my face. And, I was the kid that I developed later, and I was shaped basically like an apple because I was pretty overweight up until probably, I'd say like 16, 17. My weight would fluctuate pretty significantly. So what that results in is that once we all hit puberty, when my gorgeous, amazing, fantastic friends and I would go out, then oftentimes they would get approached by boys, right? So one summer I go to the Jersey Shore with some friends of mine, actually a friend of mine from church, if I remember correctly. And I think we were 14 or 15. So this like crazy hot guy, like the kind of guy that every girl lusted after during this, period of time. So I'm a Gen Xer. I'm on the border of Gen X and Gen Y, but still. And so this crazy hot guy sees my friend and is just like immediately like in love with her, right? So they decided they're going to go on a date. The problem was me, because she couldn't ditch me because we were there with her family. So it had to be like this cover story that we were going to go to the arcade on the boardwalk I think we were in Atlantic City, if I remember correctly. This was a while ago, so I'm really pushing here to remember the details. So I'm going to get some of this wrong. So, and I was also the girl that, like, when we would go to the beach, so, I mean, I'm the palest pale. Like, I would literally get pictures with my friends, and I would be glowing. Because the camera couldn't handle the variation of my super paleness and my friends not being pale. So it would look like I, like, glowed in the dark, like, in the camera shots. So obviously that means when we were on the beach, I'm covered. Like, I've got the world's biggest shirts on, right? Like, you don't even know what's on underneath. They're so long. Like, t-shirts that go down to, like, here, right? They're that kind of long. So they come up to do this date, right, on the boardwalk. And so she talks him into finding me a date. And I'm like, this does not have to happen. I'm good. Like, I'll go off somewhere. I'll go play skee ball, right? Like, I'm good. I love skee ball.
You're like, I didn't ask for this.
I did not ask for this. I'm totally fine with just going off in a corner, playing skee ball by myself, right? And I've got books, so I'm good, right? There's no drama here. But no, she decided she was going to do the right thing and hook me up with his friend. Now, clearly, he's not going to pick, hottie number 2. No. He's going to pick his super nerd friend who is so naughty. Like, he's so socially awkward. It's just not even, like, I don't even know how this boy could speak. He was that socially awkward, right? So I'm there, like, I just want to go home, right? But I can't, because we are there with her family, and I know them from church, so it's not like I can get on a bus and go back to my house in Camden. No. I am stuck in Atlantic City. So this kid, I think just the thought of being on a date got him so terrified that he could barely walk. I mean, like, the awkwardness of us even standing next to each other was enormous, right? So we're on the boardwalk. My friend and this super hottie guy are just like, he looked like Tom Cruise from Top Gun. So, but more athletic. So some people watching will understand what I'm saying. Those who don't, go Google it and you'll understand. So, and the kid that I got hooked up with was like not even hooked up with, that's not the right terminology. The kid who was on an awkward blind date with me at the age of 14, I think, 14, 15. So he was not Top Gun. He was like, what was the kid from Saved by the Bell?
Screech.
Yeah, he was more like Screech, but not as socially knowledgeable. He was more socially awkward than Screech, right? And he wore glasses. So Screech with glasses and completely having no social
Enough said.
whatsoever. So my friend and this Tom Cruise lookalike decide they're going to go off under the boardwalk. Now, I knew what that meant. They were going to, because, oh no, full on. Yeah, my friends were very popular. I, on the other hand, didn't lose my virginity until I think I was 18, but whatever. Anyway, they go literally under the boardwalk, and I'm like, okay. And so now I'm stuck with this Screech kid who with glasses, who doesn't know how to speak, basically. And I'm trying to come up with something to talk about. And it was almost like, we're both just like, well, do you know what they're doing under there? Yeah, I do too. Okay, great. Yeah. And like, you don't want to be here, do you? And I'm like, I kind of like to be reading right now. And he was like, yeah, I get that. I would rather be, and I forget what he said he would rather be doing, because it was so bizarre that I was like, I don't know what to do with that, right? Like, I would rather be architecting my own Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica or something. Like, yeah, that's great. Okay. So, finally, the duo come out from underneath the boardwalk, and this kid decided when it was time for us to go that he would try and go in for a kiss. And I was like, are you serious? Like, you basically, and I think it was just to show off to his friend, like, well, you got some, so now I'm gonna, go for it. And if I remember right, I was like, poof, and just kind of like, it was great.
You're doing like the Neo dive move.
Because boy went for it. He was like, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, hey. I used to hang out with you. So, and then the next day we actually left. We left Atlantic City, went back home, and believe it or not, because her family had rented a place off the boardwalk, she maintained a relationship with this kid for at least the summer. And I think at one point they were writing each other, and I think he actually proposed. And she was like, "Oh, hell no, you're a summer fling, And then I find out that the Screech kid was like, "Oh, I really want to get together with Lisa again." So that for me meant I'm never going back to Atlantic City. At least not with those friends. And I don't think I did go back to Atlantic City until I was at least drinking age. So, yeah. So that's one of my many, I'm sure, beach stories. I would just have to think about it.
I'm going to say this, and this is unfortunate because it's going to offend people. But regardless of where you currently live, I'm never going to go back to Atlantic City. It's always the best statement. You can be anywhere else. You could be in Baghdad. You're like, you know what?
Like
I'm not ever going back to Atlantic
I'm
City.
never going back.
And people are like,
send me to Iran. I'm fine. I'm never going back. Right? Kazakhstan, all good. It's not Atlantic City.
But including your experience, I'm like, definitely. Definitely no.
No reason.
There's no reason to go back.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And then, yeah.
I was super on pins and needles about this bad date guy because I'm like, maybe he's really insecure and socially awkward because he's gay and he's not straight. But the way in which you described him, I was like, no.
Like he wasn't even like there's a nerd where you can connect at the nerd level, right? Like,
yeah,
that book, or yeah, I'm into that too, or whatever, right? No, it was like he was a wannabe nerd. Like he wasn't even like, you know what I mean?
The worst nerd, the wannabe nerd.
Like I want my identity to involve nerddom, so I'm just gonna pretend that I'm a nerd. And I was like, yeah, I can't be in this town anymore. I need to disappear.
Do you even know the difference between like the USS Discovery and the USS Enterprise? Because it's not.
I don't think so.
Not gonna happen. Okay, I finally thought of a pretty good story too. Mine is about Hollywood. That is my prompt. Unfortunately, this actually isn't going to be a story that takes place in LA, but I thought, thinking of Hollywood, actors.
Okay.
So this is the story of my life as an actor when I was a professional actor for one day and one day only in New York. And this started on Facebook. And a friend of mine who I know through activism circles was like, hey, I have a one-person show, but I need a couple of background actors, but like I can't pay anyone, you know, because it's a thing. And like, does anybody just have that time on this Saturday? And I was like,
me?
Yeah. And then I checked it. And I was like, oh my God, I do have the time. And so I was like, all right, cool. Like, I was like, I'll say me, but I'm not totally committed. It's fine. So I said yes to her. And then, oh shit. Okay, so I'll go to the second part before I go to the third part. All right. Okay. So then I meet with her and we go over the script of her one-woman show, which is phenomenal. But the part that I play, I basically play every man that this Black queer woman has ever encountered in her life. And I play every single one of those men. So I play her childhood best friend, her first boyfriend, her father, an ancestral spirit.
Okay.
And these are all pretty intense scenes. So like I play like the childhood best friend. That's super easy. That was a lot of fun. Her first boyfriend, I have to simulate oral sex on stage.
Okay.
Did not know that when I signed up for it. And we did the table read, and I was like, I have to what? I have to what now? And I'm like, can we block this out now? Just so I have a general idea of like what this needs to be for the audience. And she walks me through it, and I'm like, all right, I know it's close. It is very close skin to skin contact, but it's removed enough that I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay. But then I have to transition from that scene to playing her father.
Ew. No. Yeah. No.
This is why, girl. You're asking me personally to do a lot. But it was interesting because the father character is very different from the boyfriend character. Like the father character is like, no, like I don't want to do anything with you. And I'm like, that's great because I was like right up on your junk right before this. Like this feels fine. So we go through the whole thing yeah. And then the ancestral spirit, I just dance around like crazy, like just dance around and like feel myself. And I'm like, all right, cool. So this is the extent of, this is what is technically true, is my off-Broadway debut as an actor was this one woman's show. And so I was like, all right, cool. But a couple weeks beforehand, a friend of mine had recommended me to put my name in and submit for an audition for an upcoming podcast that was an animated podcast. And they were looking for different voice actors. And a friend of mine was like, you'll be perfect. So I like recorded myself, because that's how you had to audition for it. You're like, hi, my name is this, and I live here, and blah, blah, blah. So I got the real audition the same day as the show. So I showed up early. We did the blocking. I found out I had to eat someone out on stage. I didn't know that was going to happen. And all these other things. And I was like, I have to leave because I have to go audition for a podcast. And people were like, who is your agent? And I was like, I don't have an agent. Like, this is just a random day that I'm an actor. Like, I have a full-time job. Like, I just said yes to too many different things, and now I'm an actor. And I go to Brooklyn, and then I audition for this podcast. I had to recite this crazy monologue about New Jersey and about diners in New Jersey. I don't remember this to this day, but I was like, the key is this guy is nerdy about diners. So I got really into it, blah, 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 and I got the part.
Wow.
Several weeks later, they lost all the money, so it never materialized. But I got the part of playing a fucking 16-year-old New Jersey teenager. And I was like, I don't think I sound like that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to get paid. So then I have to go back. I have to go back to Manhattan to do this play. Every single one of these things is a different costume change. And so I'm like prepping myself. I'm like, I'm ready. And I go and I do the first thing. The first thing is when I'm like the childhood best friend, I have to slay a dragon, and that's like dope and it's super fun. And then the second one is the simulated sex.
Oh no.
She's standing up. I'm like on my knees because of whatever, the way she's maneuvered me, and it just comes at me. I have to move my head in ways that suggest that stuff's going on.
Wow.
Mind you, I'm so gay. I've never had sex with a woman. I was like, I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, you have to tell me everything. So I have zero clue. But then after that, what my character is supposed to do is part of her monologue. She steps back. She's removed more clothing because she's stripping as I'm doing the stuff to her.
Yeah.
And then I am supposed to pull out a ring box from my pocket and propose to her, because that's the part in the monologue where her boyfriend proposed to her before she realized she was a queer woman. But she said no. So I simulate this oral sex on this woman in front of a packed theater.
Wow.
And they pop the question. I like put the ring up, and she smacks it out of my hands, and it like falls on the stage, and I'm supposed to be devastated. And this is the part that's very un-Hollywood. I didn't have to act at all. I was like so weird about everything that I was like, I am devastated that this is happening. So I just like curled into a ball on the ground and like just try to be invisible. And because it was one woman show off Broadway, like I thought there'd be a cast party and someone could tell me I did really good.
Yeah.
But no, this was a very, very small theater. So it was over.
Wow.
And I was like, I guess I'm getting on the subway and going back home.
Wow. It's so funny. So I actually, when I was, so my father was a radio personality. And so when I was a kid and like a teenager in my 20s, like I would get asked to do radio stuff and like podcasts and all that. and I was on TV and blah blah blah. Anyway, so fast forward, I actually moved to LA, and it turned out, so my best friend from when I was growing up already lived out here. She had moved out a couple years prior, and her boyfriend had an incredibly popular podcast, and they wanted to record a joke commercial. And so she asked me, she's like, well, I know you used to do voice work, so would you, be the voice in this podcast or this ad? So I was like, yeah, sure. So I meet them up at this studio, and they give me my lines, and so I say it one time, and then her boyfriend gives me another prompt, but to say the same lines just slightly differently. And no matter how I said them, he kept saying, stop saying them sexy. And I was like, I'm not saying it sexy. Like, I don't know how to not, like, what am I doing? So no matter what inflection I did, no matter what tone I took, he was like, yeah, Lisa, it's too sexy. It's just not going to work. And I'm like, so okay. And like, it was so freaking strange. So finally, my best friend from since I was 2.5, Heather, she just said, you know what, the first take was great, we'll just go with that. And to this day, I have no idea what he thought was sexy about what I was saying, because I just don't know. It was so strange.
Imagine trying to change your voice to sound unsexy, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I was like, do I do this? Sexy. Okay. Do I do that? I don't know what you want me to sound like. No, that's
anything you can sound like. It's gonna be both bad for you, but good for at least someone out there. And it's like,
right?
You just did it for someone.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And then I actually, when I heard it, I was still like, I don't understand what they thought was hot about that. Like, I don't get it. So it was.
People are weird.
They are totally weird. So for everyone who's watching, thank you so much for joining us. I want to do a couple things. So one, I want to thank Ben White. So Ben, that was an amazing story. A. B, guys, seriously, you have to pick this up. It is absolutely phenomenal. I edited this, but I claim that very lightly. It was more like I enjoyed each and every narrative poem, and I was like, hey, what about this at certain points? And that was kind of it. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of editing involved in this. He is that brilliant. So you have to pick this up. Again, you can pre-order it now. It is available generally or broadly November 11th. Totally pick this up. That's one. So two, you want to go out there and you want to join me and Alicia Delory, who wrote Something is Better Than Nothing. So Alicia is going to be my guest tomorrow on the Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. We came up with some pretty gnarly questions for each other. This might actually be the rawest one that we've had to date. So I think that you really need to check that out. So that also is going to be posted on Twitter, Facebook Live, and YouTube. And again, this is another one that it will be saved for posterity. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you ever have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat, because we will absolutely 100% answer them. If we don't answer it, if you're logged in later, like this is no longer the date of that podcast or that live recording, no big deal. We always go back and check, and we're more than happy to answer questions.
Yeah.
And Alicia, you don't know this yet, but I'm telling you now, you're going to be our guest next time on the next Storytellers Happy Hour. So get ready, honey girl, because we're going to have a blast.
I know Alicia can do this. It seems, and Ben, you could probably speak to this, like the premise of we're gonna draw from a bag and then you're gonna tell a story based on that. It's like scary to a lot of people. Like you have to know that you have a story for pretty much every situation.
Mm-hmm.
I was really comfortable, no matter what you pulled out.
And you did so good. The thing is, everyone does really good.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story as long as they're given a prompt.
Everybody's got a story. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, you got a story. If somebody's like, "Tell me a story about this," and you're like, takes you a minute, and you're like, "Oh, I got this." Alicia, I've known for so long. Me and Alicia Delory went to undergrad together, and I know that Alicia will be great at this.
Oh yes. And Alicia's book. So I'm just going to put this out here now. This is the first time anybody will ever hear this because Alicia and I only found out like 2 days ago that Something is Better Than Nothing was picked as a featured new release by BookBub. So when this baby goes live, when this is available in March of 2021, it will be a feature with BookBub. So congratulations, Alicia. That is enormous. So
great.
Congratulations.
I'm so happy.
By the way, Ben was the editor for Something is Better Than Nothing. So that man knows this probably as well as Alicia does.
We're all weirdly connected.
I'm not surprised that it's getting recognition.
Me too. I'm not surprised. You guys did a phenomenal job. Now,
we're all weirdly connected. That's so
we're
weird.
all beautifully connected. And Tihi, we're gonna just keep on finding people.
We've known each other a lifetime.
Right? Exactly. Totally. So another one for all of you watching. So November 15th to November
It's been 45
30th.
minutes now.
From November 15th to November 30th, Turing's Graveyard by Terrence Hawkins is going to be available again. A special deal on BookBub. That one is actually going to be a featured ebook special, 99 cents. If you are not a member of BookBub, you need to join BookBub so you can get hooked up on this special. BookBub's amazing. They only pick quality. I'm not just saying that because they pick our books. Believe me, they turn down plenty of our books. And then they accept a wonderful number. So check that out. And then the last thing I'm going to pitch before I let Tihi keep going and Ben keep going, The Many Deaths of Cole Parker. Another one I literally found out today by Taylor Grant. So this baby is going to be offered again on BookBub for 99 cents for the ebook from December 15th to December 30th. You want to pick this up. I cannot tell you how amazing this is. This one is another one that I edited, that I lightly call edited because I really just asked a bunch of questions and Taylor put up with me. So pick this one up. Take that opportunity. 99 cents ebook. Fabulous. December 15th, December 30th. Go to bookbub.com, join, and you want to pick up, you want to become a member for Terry's. It's science fiction, which actually is literary, but whatever. And for Taylor's, you want to do dark fiction or horror. And then that way you're going to get updated when these babies become available. Okay. So
we can have a whole conversation about how science fiction is actually literary fiction.
A good part, yeah.
Welcome to our TED Talk. For the next 3 hours, we will
for real, science fiction and a lot of dark fiction are actually really literary fiction. Like, let's just face that, right?
Yeah.
So,
as a writer of dark fiction.
True.
Yes. I'm sorry. I've had a couple of drinks. Also, I live in a different country. Things are different. I live in Mexico. My edibles just kicked in. I'm fine with saying that. Not in the United States. Because come find me, DEA.
Okay. And you had steak, so you're in a good place right now.
And I had steak. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank Ben again for being such a wonderful, amazing guest. Tihi, you will see Tihi, myself, and Alicia next month. So December, and we will bring it. You guys will just have a blast.
This
So
is
I want to thank everybody. Happy November. Happy election time. Fingers crossed for whoever you.
Fingers crossed we already know who the president is by the time this is live for other people, which is like not very far from when we end recording, but this is the state of our election where like any 15-minute block can decide our entire future. And that's tough.
And that's tough. That's true. All right.
It's tough.
Well, we love you all. We'll see you in December. And happy storytelling.
Bye.